Foundations. Foundation 2. Hate sin, especially your own. Day 2. Sin hardens the heart. No one likes to be tricked. Whether it's getting a game that breaks the first time you use it, or having someone who pretends to be your best friend talk about you behind your back. You know what it feels like to be fed a lie. Sometimes people call these rotten apples or wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. Whatever you call them, sometimes things can look good on the outside, but be dangerous or deadly on the inside. Sin is one of those things that rarely comes dressed in its true clothing. It appeals to our desires for happiness and satisfaction, but after working its way into our lives, it robs us of the happiness it promised in the first place. Like going to a movie that looked fun in the trailer, but turned out not to be as good as it seemed. The writer of the book of Hebrews warns against being hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 13. Sin deceives or tricks us into thinking we can enjoy breaking God's rules and then simply move on or manage the sin as we go. But what really happens is that it hardens our hearts. Have you been tricked by sin? Sin is easy to recognize when someone sins against us. It is easy to hate lying when we've been lied to, or hate stealing when someone takes our things. But when it comes to our own sin, we are much less likely to recognize it. We excuse our wrongdoings and downplay our offenses against others. The more we act like our sins are not so bad, the more we believe it. Sin tricks us into thinking that the problem is outside of us, when really it is within us. So how do we keep from being tricked by sin? Sin tricks us by promising things that seem true, but are really lies. Just like fake money can seem real, unless you are very familiar with the real thing. Learning and understanding God's promises is our best defense. The more we study what's true, the more readily we can spot a counterfeit. To dwell on. Know God's promises so you won't be deceived by sin. To discuss. What are some products you've seen or bought that didn't do what they promised? What are some ways sin tricks us? To memorize. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Galatians chapter 5, verse 16.